Good evening, everyone. I'll call our council meeting to order at 6 p.m. here in our committee of the whole. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Tumian.
I do not.
Okay, roll call, please. Alderperson Timian.
Present.
Finch.
Present.
McNeil.
Present.
Castro. Present. Schmidt.
Present.
Murphy.
Present.
Garcia.
Present.
Razak.
Present.
Lovely to see everyone. We'll be back to our roundtable atmosphere. So I don't believe we have remote electronic attendance. Any questions on the agenda? Seeing none. Any public comment this evening? Seeing none, we'll move right into our roundtable discussions, 8.5 housing projects and strategies. Mr. Carr, Mr. Mathias.
Come to the podium here. Oh, what's that?
To the invisible.
Yes, pretend there's a microphone here. Thanks, everybody. We're happy to present on housing, talk about some of the projects that are in the works, talk about some of the strategies, and just generally talk about housing. So get right into it. As you all know, as we talk about projects that are in the works, you all know about the Penn project. This is going to be one of the adaptive reuse projects that we're talking about here, but right at 17th Street, 5th Avenue, 32 market rate apartments. So key thing about this one is it will be workforce housing, so it will be market rate and integrated to our downtown, which is obviously a good thing. And plan for this groundbreaking to start hopefully in January of next year. For those of you that were at the PMT meeting, it was last week, we talked about the dispatch buildings at 17 25th Avenue. This is another adaptive reuse project that hoping can even maybe start not by the end of the year, this coming spring. This would be 40 market rate apartments, 4 studios, 22 one bedroom, and 14 2 bedrooms. This is actually going to be on the same block as the J.C. Penney project. So we're looking at 72 units on that block, right in the heart of our downtown. So we're very excited about this project as well. As you can see, for those of you that haven't seen this project, the balconies that are going to be on the east side, really the east side of the project is going to have kind of a completely different look than the north side. The north side is really that preservation of an existing building, even preserving those sconces and the design of that building. And then east side, where they demoed a portion of the existing building, the previous building, that's where we'll have this new face and have balconies there that are right up against some active living, I would say, right off of Fifth Avenue, which is nice. And there'll be a parking lot, no space as well, a new parking lot for all the tenants of this building. So very excited about this project. Moline Housing Authority is looking at another project in town. I'm not going to talk about the location yet, but this would be 5 fourplexes that they're looking to do in our city. So general lot layout would be a parking lot, kind of these fourplexes surrounding that parking lot. It also includes amenities like a community building, community garden, and other amenities for the residents that are going to be living there. But this would be a Moline Housing Authority project that we hope to be able to announce later in the year an actual location and more details to come on that. There was another project that I don't know if Bob's seen the email. There was another one we were going to talk about that we pulled by direction of the developer. So we do have another one that'll be downtown, but he's not quite ready for that to be. We thought he was, and now he's changed his mind since we had the meeting. But another 50 units. That's another unit count. So another 51 units that'll be market rate in our downtown. That's actually planned to be a new construction project. As far as other city council housing initiatives that I know you're aware of, but we can provide some updates on. Rental housing inspection program has been going very well. We issued almost 1,800 licenses. That's on August 19th when I collect data. 687 identified as A-rated properties. That's the best. 295 is B-rated, which is that median level. 35 as C-rated, which is the lowest level. So Roughly, I think 14 of those C-rated properties have already been dealt with, and the issues that were identified have been remedied. Another thing that's been going really well with this program is the folks that aren't paying that we're taking to court. The first round of 20 that we're going to take to court, they've all paid before it even went there, before we had any fees or before it took up any of the court's time. We're just doing those 20 at a time so we can get through them right away. So next batch of 20 is already working. We're already working through that, and a lot of those have been paying too. So staff's doing a really good job with this, and I think the way we've identified it, I don't think we're going to find a lot more. We're going to continue to find rental properties as we're out there about. It's just one of those things that's always changing, right? They can go from rental to not rental. So that's always going to be a working list, but I think we have a decent now hold on the number of those. I don't think we're going to need 2 more inspectors to run this program. I think the 2 that we have is probably going to be, we're going to have enough revenue coming in to cover the program. I don't see a reason that as of now to expand it. For accessory dwelling units, we did pass that in the spring. We haven't had any applications received yet for ADUs, but that is an ordinance that's passed and is waiting there for somebody to take advantage of that. I'm going to have Chris talk a little bit about the downtown housing strategy here, but I do want to, we talk about this study all the time that we did, and that's a lot of what our downtown housing knowledge is based on is this housing study from 2020 that DeSalvo did. That indicated a demand for 384 market rate units in our downtown within the next 5 years. That was done in 2020. So key findings of that were the number that was identified. The rents, I didn't even include the rents because that's out of date now, the rents that were proposed back in 2020. But the key thing they said is, capitalize on being adjacent to those entertainment districts, right? So if you think about the riverfront, that was something that was identified as like key area assets where you're investing in your downtown and people are wanting to live there, right? So we need a variety of locations throughout the downtown that was identified. We need adjacent parking, units with balconies, properties with premium river views, easy access to the riverfront. A lot of those things are things we're trying to address in the riverfront plan. I want to talk a little bit about this next slide.
And so picking up on that, for our riverfront and center building plan, many of you have seen that, and we've had many meetings in the last few months. City, Moline, and other partners for MKSK is the paving firm. So on the left, you see the total area that we're looking at along the riverfront. But we use this slide to kind of show how we stretch north to south. That front section of 14 acres, really that heavy focus, but floodplain, there's issues there. So we have park will be incorporated to do land use on that floodplain. And then this area, again, with bridge moving, what's available, about 14 acres right there in the front. That allows us to have this unique opportunity with open land spot right there in the downtown area on the river. It does lend itself, it gives us opportunity to bring that density, bring these bodies. We talked about 300 near-term units. That's consistent given the planning of the plan, but also with the land that's opened up, what's possible. Long term, there's no reason that we can't be looking at 500-600 units with absorption of a very long period of time as well. So it really sets the stage for years and years of development potential. Again, trying to anchor this easterly end that will help us really solidify and bring more density to downtown, bring it back to the Fifth Avenue core. So again, this isn't an isolated island of development. This is really helping set that easterly end and integrate all of downtown. So again, walkable community, great trail system. I think that's that macro. A lot of you've seen this, and it's going to continue to change and address all the things as we get into a lot of the practicality of implementation. So digging in deep on infrastructure to save, how we approach new infrastructure, land use, street grid. Turning lanes, all the unique things that don't talk a lot about that are going to influence on the final decisions on the development. So this really set the stage for that density. You can see a couple of reads there on the right, and it'll be exactly like that. A lot more to come, but that's our quick update. Thanks for the previous comments. That's all funneling into
Yeah, and one of the key opportunities of this plan, right, is you're connecting areas of your downtown that effectively were disconnected by an interstate. And then the interstate moved, and so that's the opportunity here is how do you connect to some of those eastern areas too. It's all about we know the riverfront and that key piece, but it's like, how do we connect those eastern areas to for residential development? And, KJ? I'm gonna let KJ talk about some of these community development programs too, because that's a key part of what we're doing for housing, right? Is making sure that you're understanding a lot of these existing community development programs.
Good evening. So in our of our programs, we have 6 categories. The first one being neighborhood infrastructure programs. That's where we're doing the streetscapes, the sidewalks. We did Hawk Hollow, and we do water and sewer improvements with that. Our next section would be demolition. So Strong Communities program. In the last 8 months, we've taken down 8 houses. Then also we have structured neighborhood abatement program, SNAP. That's where we take down dilapidated garages. We took down one behind Bob's house. Couple on that black matter. Yes, we did.
And I just want to talk real quick about how important that program is. I mean, Rapalman really doesn't have a dedicated source of money. One of the things I've learned since I came back here is that money's key for him. Without that money, we wouldn't have demos at those garages.
Absolutely.
So that'll be something we'll be talking about at the time a little bit, but like he's dependent on that CDBG money. Thank you.
And the nice thing about the SNAP and the SCP program, we don't need to own those properties. So we can go on with the right of entry, knock it down, and that way we don't have to maintain. So that's a big plus for us. Our next area is code enforcement. Last year we did 870 cases of that. So CDBG helps pay for that. Our next area is affordable housing. That's what our down payment program. And I can tell you right now, we have a mass amount of applications for our home equity program. It has really exploded, which is great. People want to move to Moline, but we need more houses for them. So up with that program, they can receive up to $7,100 of assistance. And we can come in on third place. So they can get the IDA, where they can have like a Central IH, and then have an IDA up to 10,000, and then up to 7,100 pounds. So it's really a good package there. And then our new program, which is funded through CDBG and SEP, which is our Moline Urban Homestead. We have our first house. The contractors are cleaning it out right now, so we can get there and take a look at it. It's going to cost us about $6,600 to clear that out. That's how much debris is in there, on the outside and the inside. And then we can kind of see what house we have, but it's up in Moline, so that will be our first house. And then our next section is homelessness. So we have 2 programs for that. One's funded through ARPA, and that's our emergency one. Like if you have an eviction notice, you can come to our office, and we can cut you a check sooner than some of our partners. And then the other one is facilitated by the Salvation Army. That's funded by CDBG. And you can receive up to 3 months of assistance with that. But please remember, in those programs, we do not support water bills, because then we're paying back ourselves.
Support what?
We don't support water bills
Okay, gotcha.
since we own the company. And then our last one is our rehab assistance program. With that program, you can receive anywhere up to 15,000, up to 60,000, between 15 and 60,000. And then you hear that number 60,000, but that's an IDA. IDA has 2 grants. One is 45,000, the other one is 60,000. But we're going to look at your roof, we're going to look at your AC, we're going to look at your furnace, your water heater, things like that, and provide assistance under those programs. Now, in that community housing service program, you can get something done today and get right back home, which a lot of people. But it's usually about a year or 2, so it's not like you're getting it tomorrow. Those are our main focuses in our community development programs.
Do we have questions? Are you ready for questions now? Related to KJ's portion?
You want to finish first and then do all
Yeah, well, let's do that.
Okay.
Finish and then.
we're pretty close to get through our slides. So just 2 more projects that I want to talk about. Now we're getting into future projects really. And this is the Bluffs at Case Creek subdivision. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, it is on the wall here as well. So if you're familiar with Knoxville Road, the south west corner of our city, near the border with Moline. This was a development that really started. I started in the city in 2004, and this was a development that was already well in the works before I got here. So when I got here, we were doing the rezoning, we were annexing out there, but this is something that they've been planning for a while. So of course, 2008 happened, market tanked. The particular developer I think I had some financial issues, and the city still owns this. What I would tell you is we do have water to the site already. So the city's got water into the interior of the site. I believe, in talking to Tony today, Milan has a pump station nearby already too. So this site's more ready for development than somebody would think it is. And I think now that we have our staff built back, we've got a council that's obviously has housing as a priority. And with Administrator Vitas and his leadership too, we've been talking about new ideas for this development, right? Is it a green idea? Is it a green development? What can we do to get the housing started out there and really put our skin on it, I guess, we can draw that interest. So a couple just things I would point out about this development would be it is a partnership with Milan. So there's a boundary here where phase 1 happens kind of half in Milan, half in Moline. Phase 2 is entirely in Moline. So we will be a partnership with Milan, anything that happens out there. I don't know, Bob, I don't know if you wanted to say anything about some of the green ideas that you had.
Yeah, one of the things we're thinking about if we want to do something unique, is to think about using green technologies for development. The state has already passed legislation that says that when you're building single family properties, you have to provide EV safety, EV charging inside the garage. So you got to have that too. Service in there. So that would be required. The other thought is that, since they're new homes, you can actually turn around and you can actually put the solar panels on the roofs of these homes. Right? 40-year panels with 40-year roofs with 20-year roofs. So that they're energy efficient and clean, so they don't have that same problem. Most of the older. So we're looking at that. We're looking at how they capture the storm water and then divert that storm water back to irrigation ecosystems. So that way this place is always green. And we're not using potable water all the time. Keep the lawns green. That's kind of just the tip of the iceberg. There's really nothing like that out there at all. There's really nothing like that. The only place I've seen that is down south. So this would be kind of a marquee project with the right development. So if the council's interested in pursuing this development, which I hope you would be, we would resurrect it, bring it back to life, find a developer, see what type of development agreement between us and Milan we could arrange. Milan will provide the sanitary sewer services there, and we provide the one boundary line right for this property.
Last thing I have, and then we can get into questions. I did provide an old project that Bob and I have been talking about on the northeast corner of our city, right? I didn't see what it was called, Riverview Point Condominiums, but this is showing you the potential of that site. This is a project I believe that came in 10, 15 years ago, in rapid development. And as you can see, even on that triangular piece that's right at the northeast corner there, he took the 80 units on that property. And this, has been in the floodplain all along. It just needs to be properly developed in the floodplain, properly elevated, but it is possible to do. And there's a lot of potential, I think, on that site. It's also on a TIF, so we could, we could help incentivize that to make something happen. So that one I wasn't able to get into the slide, so maybe we could just pass it out to you to see it. But that's, I guess, a project that's been talked about 15 years ago, and something we could certainly, we've already been kind of, as we meet developers, that's something that we're pointing out to them and letting them know that. So
this would be kind of new development.
before I take questions, just also keep in mind, we're going to be starting a comp plan next year. There will be a lot of input then that you're going to have on housing. And we understand that we have a very single family zoning heavy comp plan right now. And we understand that you want to look at changes to that and how we can integrate more of that missing middle and higher density residential in the plan. So keep that in mind too. We're going to have a year-long series of workshops where you'll be able to help us answer some of those questions on how we can zone the city a little bit better to encourage other housing types. So I'm happy to take any questions that you have from me or any of my staff that are here.
So, I had a couple questions on the community development programs.
Yeah.
Specifically looking at like the down payment token cost of assistance. When when we're working in that, you made mention of houses to buy right now, so we have a shortage of inventory. Is there any controls that get put into that are making it less competitive, like limiting on like how far you can go over asking or anything like that? Or is it just, this is the money that comes to the table and they're responsible for doing all their own, limiting on?
Good question. So on the home buyer program, you're not allowed to receive cash back at the table. You must contribute at least $1,000 towards the purchase. You're required to take an 8-hour investment over at Lockout Economic Growth. Your front end debt ratio cannot be over 31. Your back end cannot be. So, and as long as your appraisal prices at the buying price.
We know if we're seeing prices far exceeding appraisal prices this time.
I've only seen that twice since we started this program back in 2019. Because before that, IDA funded the program. And then once IDA stopped it, we picked it up and see what changes.
Questions? Yes.
Do any of these housing units, do they accept Section 8 vouchers?
To my knowledge, none that I'm aware of.
I just had a question, for that, about how many, grants have you given this year for the down payment assistance?
Oh, I think we gave that number out. I want to say it was close, it was somewhere like 25 to 30 in the last 12-month
Do we
period.
spend all that money every year? I mean, have we ever like ran out or?
We have never run out. This year, like I said, we have more applications than ever since we started back in 2019. We could probably close on one of them.
Is that information like readily accessible on our website that has like the eligibility requirements and income requirements? Is that right on the website or do they have to apply first to get that?
No, it's in the application.
Okay.
So it is on the website, but I'll be happy to send you the link. It's all laid out.
That'd be great.
For all of our CDBG programs, except for the 2 IDA programs, it's 80% AMI. For the IDA program, for the half HR, they went up to 150% of the AMI. So, like for example, an applicant, one in the household can make about $96,000 a year. Or if that was on the CDBG side, you're looking at about $55,000. So that's a huge difference. But one thing with the IDA grant that we ran into several problems with is the amount of house that you can buy. So in Rock Island County, your house currently cannot exceed $148,000 to participate in the program. So we had to turn down about a handful of applicants, even though they qualify with the income because it's that high now. Their house is too much for the program, and IDA just will not budge on that. So
It's kind of like they haven't updated that limit to reflect the current housing prices a little bit.
How long has it been at 148?
that I'm not sure. Ever since we had the grant, I could tell you that. But I mean, we can certainly check on that.
So the Bluffs at Case Creek subdivision, I would encourage, if we're gonna do this, geothermal as well, because if we gotta go all in if we're gonna do it. Having said that, I have a little trepidation about, lack of a better term, sprawl. New infrastructure, new roads that are gonna require replacement. Do we need a new police station out there? I mean, how's school? Are they gonna have to bus? Are we going to need extra drivers for garbage? There's a lot of hidden costs, especially over 20, 30 years when the roads start breaking apart. And so these things are not always real good investments when we have streets and water and sewer currently that we can build up. Having said all that, there are people that want that, to live in more isolated areas. So this is where I'm kind of two lines. I don't know if there's any thoughts.
You sound like Alderman Pat O'Brien, 2004. It was a big that it was urban sprawl.
Thank
You want to address you talk about geothermal.
But thanks for the note on geothermal. In fact, also looking at the opportunity for geothermal. Just because it's floodplain, it's partly in the that's prime for it. We do have bedrock issues, so the depth of the loops might be an issue, so it might be more horizontal. It's a perfect opportunity for the person to bring in geothermal. And with riverfront, doing the street layout, we can the pump station and all of our manual system right there. We could feed 3 buildings. Remember, the system can take us. Right. We feed 3 buildings almost in a campus setting, not across public rights of way or anything like that.
And new construction gives us that freedom.
Right. And then that would be just basically we would be developing it that way. So that's should be incentive to development community.
The Bowie Farm is the only one in the Moline School District. The other 2 are in the Rock Island School District. So that'd be Rock Island School District.
That should know. So I mean,
Still,
It is far away.
No, let me speak to the public safety side too, because that's a big issue. I know the 2 chiefs and I had discussion about what happens south of the rock group. There was an interest at one time, so the airport mobile home, like constantly annexed, right? Kind of said if you want our water, our sewer, deliver service there, but like it's too far, right? And yet it's in the fire protection district. So that fire protection could continue to provide that service under agreement with the city. No different than we've been providing service for decades south of the country for their fire protection, which is just a district in name, but not in terms of service. As far as the police services, I mean, again, it's with a lot of community sheriffs, they're already there providing or Moline because they're part of this development. So a lot of those things, a lot of that gymnastics has to be valid. They're all valid points, right? Every single one, except the urban sprawl.
To add to that, Mr. Mathias, I've heard him speak about us needing all types of housing, right? So we've heard the term missing middle and the increased density and all that. We also need this potentially higher end housing for our diverse. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm right along with that because you do have people that move up economically and they want those big houses and they want that type of land. And right now, the only places they can get that is parts of that. So us having something like this, it's another option if we want to see it in the nice side, specifically at the moment.
Yeah, I think this year's the excellent point of your head in comments. So it's not going to get a million new things going on. The one preview of something that as we start thinking about that, I mean, I think we're at a place where we're probably going back to having multiple types of housing zoning available, because then we can have these just a little bit distinct parts of the city where we all still are benefiting in one place. But when I live in my neighborhood, which is older and packed in, and like when we talk about ADUs, I was like, half the houses in my neighborhood are that size to begin with, and so it's like just a mixed place. But that's what we all like. And then you have people who want this, and by all means, let's let everyone have what they want. I think that just thinking of how we serve those various places. Also, and the market is obviously really tough right now for if you're buying houses. There's nothing. Is it true? And I'm looking that there's not really any programs we're running that are sort of helping in that way. I don't know if it's just missing middle or like young professionals who maybe are ready to move out of apartments into their first houses and stuff, and like who can't find those homes. There's not really a lot we can do to help them besides encouraging additional development and houses going.
That's the main thing I feel like I need to do and my staff needs to do, right? Is we just need to get more development going. Because then certain people move up through that chain, or promoting all housing types anyway, then you're helping out different people at different socioeconomic levels. So, but I do think we need to think about how do we kickstart development. I mean, if south of the Rock River is what we want to do, then it's that chicken and the egg thing. Like, okay, what's going to be first? What's going to drive that? I mean, you can see where there's water main at the bottom of that bluff, for example, but in terms of where we want to do the price of Bowie Farm, right? It's like, you got to get up that hill. Regardless, right? If we want to get out to Skull Valley, we got to get up that hill anyways.
Right, we're going to be talking about that next.
Yeah, I have a question, if you wanna go.
No, I was.
Well, I had a question going back to the rental inspection, so if you have a question regarding this.
Go ahead.
I just have a question, you're going back to the very first point about the rental inspections and that you haven't had any permits yet. So has the rental, do we haven't received any like rentals that state that they're EDUs? Because I thought that was one of, you know what I'm talking about, I thought that was one of our things was that now that we have this rental inspection program, now we can actually better track those EDUs and make sure that they're compliant. So have we not, or
Part of this, I think the nomenclature is part of it sometimes too, right? Is it an existing duplex or is it an ADU, right? And so if something was allowed in the 1950s as a duplex, somebody might look at it and say, that's an ADU. I may call it a duplex, I guess, whatever. But I think the point was, you're doing those inspections, you're getting inside buildings and you can uncover if there's something that's unsafe that's happening in there that needs to come to light. So no, we have not been presented with any ADUs that were like discovered. But I'm guessing for the most part, they're probably identifying units that have been in place and were legal at the time they were put in.
Or they could be, would it be correct to say they could be under an exemption, say at the corner of Floyd Seventh Avenue, the one way, right? I drive by it all the time. There's a big garage, 2-story that you can tell is a rental. It is a converted garage with 2 doors, but they could be renting to a family member and then it's exempt or something, right?
Yeah, there could be a lot of possibilities, I guess.
I wanted to chime in on homelessness prevention. Notice where it didn't, in this section, it didn't talk about, what is the word I'm looking for? Homelessness that's currently there, unsheltered housing, getting into,
Supportive housing.
supportive housing, and what's the list that we were talking about for people to get on? Coordinated entry. So, I just wanted to let the council know that there is a working group that just today there was an email chain talking about some of the necessary services and it's not, these are things that are, worked through with partnerships with social service agencies in the area, right? Or nonprofits. So that's being looked at, because we continue to get reports that, folks are living here, there, everywhere in places we haven't seen them before. So we really want to address that in a humane manner and, be compliant with the, what is it called, Chief? The Bill of Rights for Homelessness, or what's the official title? So that conversation is happening. And you can always direct folks to the webpage on the police department's site that talks about the background on that and what we do.
That was an eye-opening meeting for us too, to kind of find out who is and who isn't working with all of us. Who's actually doing things. So we even got some good contacts I think about it.
Yes, Mr. Schmidt.
So I'm back to that middle housing piece we talked about to help push for that. Are there additional tools we need in that toolbox, or do we need just time or resource? Like what are we needing, or is that maybe not where we going and pushing on that? I just knowing the comp plans coming up, but of course there's needs now, like addressing. Just wondering what's
Right, and I think that's something that we're always doing, right? So you're always, Chris especially, what I like about Chris is he's always on the phone, he's always approaching somebody, right? So it's like, just because we have a comp plan, doesn't mean we're not gonna be trying to make things happen every day. So that's what I really like about him, but no, the things you're bringing up are things that I think the comp plan does need to change though, which would be like, okay, where's that median zoning need to be? Or, we gotta have some things around bus routes, for example, that are a little different. How are we gonna integrate those 2 different zoning types together? But, yes, I think there's plenty of things we could be doing now, like what do developers need, right? What's gonna attract developers here now, regardless of our comp plan? Where's the land gonna be? So you can start getting some of those sites ready. You can, there's people like Brad Bagby, or who else did we talk about today? There's another developer we met actually at lunch today with a developer who wants to do 10 to 12 units, has a particular, people that are older than 60, 10 to 12 units, like that's their thing they want to do. So we need to keep searching for that and figuring out, I guess, how we pave the way for them to to get done, even if we don't have a comp plan yet.
I'd love to emphasize the interest in that, finding senior housing, whether it's under the affordable category or market rate. I've had residents reach out that want a higher end condo as they retire and move out of their homes. Then we can get some of those folks that are younger that want to move into homes, something to purchase. So yeah, I mean, especially looking at the demographic shift, et cetera, it's not gonna be wasted effort.
So why do we meet with a person like that? Well, at the end of the meeting, it's like, hey, look, here's what I'm looking for, right? So keep me in mind when you see this come up. This is what I'm trying to do. So that's why I jump all those people.
And we are facing a problem where, like, even if we have vacant lots, you know, we have at least some of it could be developed theoretically for like single family homes or duplexes. How that's gonna develop, but it's not profitable to develop those properties. That generally, is that right? Right now, it's
At least the folks that are saying, I want to build a house to make money on this, generally aren't looking at those lots, the one-off lot and, you know, the 45 by 120 lot or whatever reason. So,
is it a, do you think it's not profitable or is that not profitable enough? Right? Like I could go and build 3 of these, but now I've got the overhead as 3 different projects, or I can use that same amount of money to build 8 units and it's way more profitable.
that question I can't answer right here, but I feel like the market for somebody who's like, I'm just going to build a spec house or something, is probably not looking in that area. Even in the new house, we have a couple new housing starts right now. One is in Charter Oaks, which is a nice neighborhood, right? But it's this one, the last lot that's been sitting there for a long time, it's kind of constrained. But in that case, person just, you know, he's building for somebody who's already got it sold, they want the house back, you know, so. But I couldn't tell you some of the market and the profitability on their side. You know, how much money they're making on building a house and.
And I'm just curious on what is or would stop some of them. So it seems to me like the most likely answer. If it was a highly profitable enterprise, then I would have a problem saying.
And I believe it's the actual builders that would rather build a $400,000 house because there's a big market. $200,000.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's more. Because there's developers and then there's the builders.
So I think we look at 2 ways, you know, what ways can we incentivize that? Rock Island and Moline did in the past, you know, had a property tax rebate program, you know, that's something that we look at. Rock Island currently has one right now, but it's just other tools that we can bring in place here that really make it more favorable to build a house.
Or something.
Right along with it.
Any further questions on this topic? Well, thank you very much for that work and discussion. We'll move to our second item, 8.2, sale of municipal water surplus.
Good evening, and I want to let you know that I went to print out the slides for tonight. There was a miscommunication, and so you'll have some of the slides that you have in front of you don't match what I'm actually going to present because they are slides that were a part of a presentation that we made at Cold Valley 5 or more years. Yeah. So here we go. So as you know, the drinking water system for the city's source is the Mississippi River, and that's a good thing because it's the most plentiful source of water in North America. You know, what makes you different makes you unique. You know, our treatment plant is located right on the banks, so we're susceptible to flooding, so we have to always be vigilant for that. Thanks to the actions of this council and previous councils, there's been a history of proactive reinvestment in the facilities within the treatment works. The permitted production capacity based on how the water quality is produced there at the treatment plant is 12 million gallons per day. Not necessarily a function of pumping or piping, tankage. It's based on how the water is produced with it. One other factor that we need to consider is the max day, the maximum amount of water that we've needed to produce in a single day in the last 5 years or so. and that is 7.6 million gallons. And you should know also that mostly because of low flow fixtures, conservation, and so forth, that per capita water use has been and continues to be on the decline. The old days where a single individual would use 100 gallons per day are over, and typically the little customers are using around 5%. So we're here to talk to you today about the utilization of the water capacity because the treatment plant's able to produce 12 million gallons in a day, and it's been modernized within the last 20 years, and we've got a nice investment that we've made, and it's nice to market that excess water if there are interested parties to take advantage of that. So before we do that, we need to also take into consideration what water we might want to use or reserve for our future use. As Chris just finished talking about potential residential growth, we want to make sure that there's enough water set aside so that we don't trip ourselves. But there are necessarily interested neighboring communities that are interested in purchasing, as you heard last week, one of the folks that we also have discussed water sale to Rock Island Arsenal within the last 15 years. Currently, Rock Island Arsenal has a treatment plant. It is aged and needs some reinvestment. So at some point, they'll come to a point where the federal government will be able to do some feasibility analysis and determine what is the best solution. So when we look at that residential growth, we talked about this today, and Bob and I agree that a lot of individuals come to us and say, hey, we're landlocked. And that, in fact, is not the case because we've got plenty of room to grow to the south. As a matter of fact, previous councils thought so much of that they purchased properties, including the Bowie Farm, Fiedler Farm, and then as Chris was discussing, Case Creek, I call Case Creek. There's another name for it. Loves Case Creek. Loves and Case Creek. That's the name of the proposed subdivision. The nice thing about the Case Creek area is that, and for the Beeler area, is that there is water and sewer right at the doorstep there, so it wouldn't take much to extend into the property and begin building. So know that as the city continues to grow or starts to grow up that bluff on the south side of the airport, that the water system can incrementally serve those areas, but the farther that we start to go to the south, as you'll see in the next slide or two, that the existing single pressure zone for the water system won't have enough oomph to get the water out there. That's a technical term. David Dreyer was here. He would confirm. So then know also that there's some water tankage that we acquired 2018 or so, I think, for Rock Island County. There was a nursing home that you'll see on the slide out in rural Rock Island County, that there's a water tank there that were abandoned when the nursing home was demolished. And so they're perfect for our incremental use out there. So we have a long-term land lease from Rock Island County for the actual property that the tanks are sitting on, and then we actually own the tanks. Shortly before acquiring them, we have them inspected by a structural engineer, and they're at some point when they're ready to be put into service, there may be some maintenance that needs to be done. So, all right. So this slide here, there's a lot of information on here, and I guess I was thinking maybe that the labels would show up a little larger for you. but you should have that, and I apologize, that they're out of order based on what you're seeing. But the area in yellow is Coal Valley. Just to the right of the graphic on the screen there, you'll see some blue, and that's the Turner Farm. That was formerly owned by Moline. Now we don't own it, but it is in the corporate limits. And so if a developer were to build there, those would be Moline properties. The purple lines on this graphic show the regional sewers. Those are the sewers. Remember that our South Slope wastewater treatment plant is a regional plant that serves not only Moline, south side Moline, but also a portion of East Moline and all of Coal Valley. So those purple lines represent the portions of our sewer collection system that are technically owned by the regional system. Blue lines are the water mains, and you'll see the ones that are larger, more transmission type mains. You'll see you look hard enough on there, you'll see the line that runs over to the geographic area in purple, known as Silvis. We all authorized that, and that's a successful endeavor. Then to the left on the screen, that's it kind of juts out into the brown area. That's the Case Creek area, and as was already discussed, there's water that runs to that property. And then know that we may get to this in another slide that we do not have currently an interconnection with Moline, but it's something that needs to be pursued going on in the future. The Beeler Farm there is just to the right of Case Creek. And then right in the middle, probably there is the potential future location for solar activity here for us. The outlined in green there on the western edge of the airport is TIF 7. You guys have talked about that quite a bit. So we've kind of got our bearings here on what's happening there on the south side, and know that our water system has two lines that go under Rock River, and so we've got some redundancy and able to serve that area out there. I think this was alluded to previously, but the blue line on this represents a annexation boundary that once existed between the city and the city of Moline and the city of Moline. That Councilor Link has told us that since that agreement is over 21 years old, that the agreement is now
No longer valid.
So same thing goes with the Village of Coal Valley. The line in red there represents previously negotiated boundary line where Moline agreed not to annex on the east side of the line. Coal Valley agreed not to annex on the west. Once again, that agreement's over 21 years old. Then this graphic, it shows an annexation boundary agreement that is in effect. That's the one that you all authorized with Silvis. So Silvis has agreed not to annex on the west side, on the south or west side of that green line there. So you were that. So as I mentioned earlier, if we can incrementally serve with the existing water system areas that have elevations around 708 to 718. But once you start to go more southerly, then the elevations go beyond what our existing water system can serve. With those tanks at the former Moline site and servicing. So those are, I'm not going to talk anymore about the residential because Chris and his team did a good job talking about that. But just know that as we ponder water sale to other communities, we need to think about what we need. So as you know, with Silvis, we have a wholesale agreement with them that was established in 2022. They purchase water from us up for their upper pressure zone. Their lower pressure zone, which is the area generally down to the north and near the railroad tracks, is still on their wells that they operated for years and years. Silvis purchases approximately or minimally 410,000 gallons per day currently, and they have expressed an interest recently to expand that to go beyond what they're purchasing now to supply for the entire community. And they've indicated that they are going to talk to an engineer about what it would take to do so. And if that were to come to fruition, then their supply to Silvis would go to about 750,000 gallons per day, which is what they use. City of Milan or Village of Milan? Village of Milan, thank you. Village of Milan has expressed an interest in water supply, and I think it's mostly because our endeavor with Silvis has been so successful. Silvis is really thrilled with how things are working out for them, and so they have. I know for a fact that they've spoken with Milan and they've spoken with Full Valley, but for various reasons, the discussions with Milan aren't expected to begin until late this year or early next year. And if that were to come about, they would need about 500,000 gallons per day for the demand. As once again, whether we work toward a supply to Milan or not, I think it could be mutually beneficial for us and them to seek an interconnection either way, because then it would give us an emergency interconnection or something to happen to those lines that go under. Okay, Gold Valley. So we have an existing relationship with Gold Valley. They currently discharge 100% of their wastewater to our South Slope wastewater treatment plant, along with East Moline. The Rockford Valley Regional Sewer System IGA controls that relationship, and it was recently amended. So that agreement is modern, and it removed a bunch of old language that included other members of the original IGA, including the airport and Rock Island County. So we feel really good that we've got a good agreement with Valley and East Moline to continue on. And as you know, we're in the process of designing South Slope, so it's very good. Well, we do have this agreement. Each community has maintained its autonomy. It's continuing to be local, the Valley's continuing to be Valley, and then I just mentioned already about the expired wastewater government. As you know, Full Valley has expressed an interest in water, and we applied to them. And then that's worthy to note that Full Valley's discharge capacity to South Slope is about 0.8 of a million gallons per day, and then East Moline's is a full million gallons per day. While we aren't in the don't have significant prospects to sell water to Kelowna, I wanted to include some information in this presentation about them because we have a really good relationship with Kelowna. We're currently operating their wastewater treatment plant, and for sure, our staff is serving as their certified operator for their water. They have two public water systems with certified operators for those systems. So while we're operating that treatment plant in Kelowna, they're undergoing a feasibility study. They've got similar language in their NPDES permit that we received at South Slope. So their engineers evaluating what options they have long term. One of which may be to shutter that plant and instead of dealing with all the long term operational costs, instead pipe and discharge their wastewater to us. There are incentives that exist at state level through EPA that highly favor consolidation of these PDS permits.
To make the question, sorry, in terms of the extension of the intersection. On the south slope, or to the connection actually, Whole Valley. I think we need an idea for that, so much where you can south slope.
Absolutely, it would be that would be how they would get the consolidation. State involvement. Yeah, so if you look on this screen here, that purple line is the regional interceptor, and where it hits the kind of eastern edge near the Turner Farm of Bull Valley. That's where we would kind of expect to get back to that.
At that time, possibly run water as well.
That would be a wise. Yes. We've had calls from owner residents. We get calls from owner residents inquiring. They see our trucks out there. We wonder when that's going to happen.
Sorry, I missed that.
Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was retail versus wholesale. So we have an agreement with Silvis to sell them wholesale water, but also know that the agreements that we have with East Moline and Bull Valley for wastewater are also on a wholesale basis, meaning that they own and maintain their piping networks, and all we do is meter at the door. And so for East Moline and Bull Valley, they're discharging to a point that terminates discharges right at the edge of our collection system, and then it flows through our collection system into the South Slope. Moline, Bob recently informed the leaders over there in Bull Valley that we are interested in pursuing a wholesale water sale agreement similar to what exists with Silvis. We would, however, need to take the first step, which is verifying that the connection locations that were established when we began talking to them in 2017 are still valid. And we hit kind of a roadblock, in my opinion, that we've been unable to get feedback from their staff. So either way, an engineering assessment would be needed, and we'd have to determine who's going to pay for that. So, it's obviously something that. So as an alternative to wholesale is retail, and then in the retail arrangement, you would base the charges to the neighboring community on the metered sales, the measured volumes inside the homes and businesses of that community, and we would formulate our invoice to them based on those amounts, which would be smaller than what they would pay based on a wholesale arrangement. That's because if we're selling wholesale water to Silvis, if Silvis has a water leak or they have a fire where they're using water that's not metered, or flushing fire hydrants, which is normal maintenance of the water system, they're going to pay for that on a wholesale arrangement. Versus retail, they're not. So that would be something that would need to be evaluated and calculate a generate based on what they would be expected to use. Same thing.
I have a question then. So what you're saying is, under a retail agreement, we would make less revenue and increase costs because we would be responsible for the cost of repairs?
No, that would all be negotiable.
Okay.
So the rate that you would charge for wholesale is negotiable, but we've kind of shown our hand because we already are doing so with Silvis. But a retail rate, I think we would need to determine what level of responsibility we would want to have for their water sewer systems. And we necessarily would need to have some, because otherwise they would have no incentive to improve their system.
Right, so there is some cost to us potentially, or just simply because of that kind of.
Yes,
Whereas with wholesale, it's already on them.
yes.
Yeah, the burden is
I
not
wanted
that
to understand that, thank you.
Okay, any questions on retail?
Is there any advantage to city of Moline for using a retail arrangement as opposed to a wholesale? So I'm having trouble about this. What?
In the long term, I believe if the city or if the Illinois side as a whole, we're wanting to move toward a regional utility model, I think that ultimately you're gonna get to that point anyway. Or we'll have to evaluate that at some point. I guess if anything, maybe the advantage would be that it would more force that discussion. That's a kind of an ambiguous answer.
Well, which raises the question, is there truthfully an advantage to developing into a regional utility where we give up our autonomy? When you look at the water landscape at this time, there are regional elements and the sewer systems in particular, but we're coming to the table with a far different, far more expansive and useful system than most of our other potential partners. And while I recognize we want to be fair and we want to work with them, I also recognize I'm not willing to lower Moline residents' expectations of quality and cost control and autonomy for the sake of bringing in everyone from our neighboring cities. We may not have the same commitment to water as we do.
I want to speak to that. Water is the road. It's the key. I learned that in 1980. Control the water, control the sewer, control the road. You don't have either. You have development like that doesn't happen unless you can bring water and sewer to it. But if the cities bring the water and sewer in there, or the developer pays it, somebody's paying to get it there. Well, you can see that on the other side of the you know. As the landscape exists today, there's tremendous growth potential for us in the center. So we have to preserve capacity for us, not knowing how much capacity we need because something needs to be redone. That's the most critical. Because if we give it off, we give away too much, then we got to figure out how we're going to get it back, or we're going to pay more money to create it some other way, which is a challenge. The landscape will change as the development happens. Right now, the folks in Silvis are thrilled, the businesses are thrilled. Silvis can grow because they have our water. And that's where their growth corridor is. You see what's happening. Without our water, that growth won't happen. It would have stopped cold. So we've allowed them actually to grow by giving the water. I don't know if Cold Valley has plans to grow or not. When you look at the map, I mean, it doesn't seem like it, but you don't know, right? We have no boundary agreements that are active. Which is a challenge. Same thing with Moline. Moline, they can connect to Rock Island, or Rock Island refused to sell them water except at a retail rate. Mile's too small. Retail, one wholesale. That's why they approached us. They said, we want to buy wholesale from you, same way that they did over there. So Moline wants to grow, and our border with them now is off the branch. So our growth corridor to the south, which was defined back in the days when those agreements were executed and that comp plan was created, it was clear it went straight south down Double K. That's exactly, that is the border of Moline School. And that's what a lot of cities will plan for, they'll get up to that corridor and kind of stop. With the exception of a portion of Wildwood, everybody else who in Moline is in Moline. School. Right? So our growth pattern probably won't go past that. Otherwise you end up in Sherrard. Right? That's the Sherrard School District for the south. So in areas like fully built out areas of Chicago Metro is a classic example. A lot of it started, a lot of it happened. You know, Stuart Dime too was, you know, with this farm here, it's Moline, right? He's kind of like the granddaddy of those agreements. I mean, he worked feverishly to get all of those different agreements in place. And there are really 4 major regional authorities. Cook County, DuPage County, Lake County, there's one other. Jawa. And they control all the water that comes in from Lake Michigan. They've abandoned their well systems. They've brought in the Lake Michigan water. They have approval for Lake Michigan water from another governing body, which is an international authority that controls the lake. Right? So it's really complex. The reality is to get that water, you have this application. Once you have the application, then you got to negotiate with one of the board authorities to get the water to you. That's kind of what we're doing here. We have the water from the river. We've got the best water. We've got the biggest system. And I agree with you. The question is, how much of it do you carve off? And then at some point, and what point is it? We talked about really creating a regional authority. East Moline will love to talk about it. Island wants to talk about it. But you can't give up that control. Because your growth is in the south. And it's that you are landlocked north of the Rock River, but you have no landlocked south. It's got to get around here.
Mr. Levy and then Ms. Smith.
I'm gonna take one more stab at it. Bob bought me some time. So to turn the clock back to like 1997, we had a wholesale water sales agreement arrangement with the airport. And it was converted to retail because it was advantageous to the city, because we knew we were gonna feed that infrastructure and grow stuff. So it would be a case by case basis that we have to measure and benefit to the city.
So for example, let me just add one thing, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you. If we were to provide retail water to Bull Valley, there's a lot of caveats. One, you got to do the cost benefit analysis to figure out what's better for both parties, but what's most important, what's best for us. It's our constituents that we go at the table, and it's their water system. If it did go down that retail, as I told Tony at Roundtable today, we're not going to maintain their system without proper building, maintain the equipment, maintain the system, and the staff do that because our organization is sized for our city. We have to fight to keep all with our own systems and system. The valley is great. So we're not talking just about throwing meters on the walls, charging. We need to have people on the ground, boots on the ground, fixing their system. That's what they want. But they're not offering to pay for that yet.
So that would explain why you had already communicated that wholesale was the route you wanted to go, because we don't have the
Simple,
ability to
straightforward.
do that.
I kind of following that question about cost analysis, I mean, do we have any idea of what that difference in our revenue would be if we were to sell it wholesale versus retail? Has that been, or is that, I mean, are we just?
Well, clearly it's
We don't
higher
have a real
cost
number.
because you don't have people.
And that,
I guess the people on the system.
was
They
my
have
second
one-
question is if we were gonna have to
one
hire
person who works with us.
additional folks to do that.
So the answer to her question of would we have to hire folks? Is
Absolutely.
On our end.
We have to have dedicated resources out there.
So from the sounds of it, it sounds more complex, also probably more expensive studies and whatnot. It's been proven, so this agreed to wholesale. It seemed fast. I wasn't here for all, but it seemed like it went rather fast and smooth. There's potential for more growth there. There's other communities that are interested, and the one thing that I keep reading is relationships. The way, and everybody's got a right to speak, in a public meeting, but I don't, when it comes to business and because it is a business transaction, it seemed like a red flag to me, the way it was brought. I wish I would have seen like an email or maybe, but it was just, if you're working in partnership with another community, I think there has to be, it could be done, I guess, better with the right people communicating any concerns, but it's pretty,
So can I
Yes.
clarify what you're
Yeah.
saying, just so I understand it?
the comments
This
that were made.
staff is the ones that should be negotiating, not a council member from another community.
And I don't, I would never go to one of their
Right.
meetings and throw stuff out like that. So again, I look at the relationships and the partnerships and just, it is a business transaction. And, you gotta, there's a way to do those things. So to me, I just felt it could have been done different.
And so also to clarify, you do realize that now based on what they're presenting, they have been in communication with
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for putting all this together, and you're definitely looking out for the best interest of our city and residents. But yeah, obviously, there's plenty of other opportunities, and they should be able to acknowledge that Solis is already buying wholesale, which is proven, and there's a price for this resource.
It's a good starting point.
Mhm.
It's not to say that in the future, if you did have a regional system, everybody would be paying the same rate.
Mhm.
Everybody would have a meter, right? And you have a multi-jurisdictional governing body, governance board that would oversee it, right? No different than QCOM, no different than, the arena, no different than the airports. Same thing.
And then the other thing that, what was the thing about getting some information from Coal Valley?
Okay, you wanted.
There was some information that you weren't.
Yeah, we've been attempting to try and get better understanding of their water distribution system to validate whether or not the connection points we have hit a roadblock after roadblock to get that.
Is it safe to say that their administrators told them to stand out? I mean, because they were communicating well, that they stopped, just hold it. So, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Our house is in order, the other house needs to be in order. Once that house is in order, we can go to the direction.
Thank you.
Castro, you had. Yeah, that's all good. Serge.
I become increasingly concerned about the decision to explore a retail opportunity. Given that we've had several comments that said that going toward a retail opportunity drives us for a regional system. And our recent experiences with Ricola make me extraordinarily unlikely to ever sign off on ceding any authority to our neighbors. We lost our recycling. We have the other cities trying to team up to favor one city over the other, and what was supposed to be a free market mentality, and say, well, no, it's not free market because we want us to get it instead of you. I don't think that there's a partnership level of trust that's currently in place. And so when we think about regional, I think I'd rather be the regional supplier as opposed to a member of a regional conglomerate. Not to mention the humongous debt that Rock Island has on there. Well, I mean, there are other factors. It will work with Silvis. I think like Silvis is a great example. We're very happy. They're a much smaller system. We're supporting Ona. I know it's been a great relation. I mean, these are great opportunities. I don't think a true regional system works unless we were to go together with Rock Island. And I don't think that's going to happen until, well, because by the time theirs is paid off, we're going to be paid off ours. So I think that there's a lot of hesitation there.
I think I appreciate that perspective. I had not thought about other regional conversations for other topics, to learn from those experiences. I will say, I think some of the driver of interest in this topic is the potential revenue, right? And we're always looking for new revenue streams. But not all, it sounds to me like not all revenue is good revenue. Right? There's hidden costs sometimes. And what I've been pleased to see is the reports on valuations that we get every month, I think it is, et cetera, from new development or redevelopment. That's, in my mind, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I know Carol's not here to share that, but if we've got permit valuations up by $6 million over last year, we're showing that we're growing, and that means we are leading with economic development. So I don't think I would interpret that as, oh, well, we can take our foot off the gas and we're fine, but we're not, we are moving forward, and we can be very particular about what revenue streams we pursue. So I see shaking of your head, Mr. Barr. Okay, just so I understand sort of the bigger picture of this idea of revenue and expenditures. Okay. Anything further from the council? Questions? Yes, Mr.
There
Levy, to
is
say more?
another slide or two.
Yeah.
So Bob asked me to put this together. This is just kind of a layout of what we've already discussed. If you look in the handout, you'll see that even if we did explore all of these opportunities and they came to eventuality, then there would still be 2.8 million gallons available as a reserve. But that doesn't take into consideration any future growth from Moline. It doesn't take into consideration what growth any of those regional partners may have themselves. And then this is just a matrix that kind of gives you the lowdown on what we're doing with the utilities.
Thank you. Anything further?
One more comment, just thinking specifically through full value too. I think for all the reasons that have already been stated, and hesitation towards all the things with the system. I like the simplicity of a wholesale system when we're dealing with other political entities who can change on a dime potentially in the future. And I mean, we can't, and there will be investments in putting things in, but if we've put it in infrastructure, which will always service in the case of an emergency, and then service for regular transmission as we like, longest meters, which are really cool. That's functional and long term, and it also allows flexibility without large conflict, right? They come back, they want to turn it off, fine, we figure that out. Whereas if we go into a retail operation, I mean, if they decided it's not working or turn it off, that will fire. And we're firing people because they want to do it, and there's just a lot of pieces of that that make it something I'm not really interested in. Like, now we're sending trucks out there and putting more wear and tear when the trucks go out there. So just there's a lot of pieces where I think they're trying to do it to try to avoid having to manage it themselves, like run as a smaller community that can get that. But that's taking a lot of risk from us. Yes.
Anything further? Okay, hearing none, we'll close out our roundtable discussion. Chief, I did see people sign in for public comment just after we started the meeting, so advice from council, I'm gonna open up public comment. Those that signed in, would you like to make your public comment now? You have 3 minutes.
Emily, carry the lesson.
I'll press and go.
The first time I came here, I addressed you all on the issues and concerns I have about the corrupt behavior by certain managers at the city of Moline. I'm here today to stand up for the hardworking, honest employees at the city who want and demand change, because I believe that's exactly what they deserve. As I stated before, my brother, Jared Gonzalez, was employed by the city of Moline. He was a great employee and almost always received great feedback from his supervisor. He ran a mowing crew and was even complimented for keeping his mower in pristine condition. He did an exemplary job, and I've noticed that since he's been let go, there's a lot of areas that have weeds. I've called several times, still nothing is done, it's completely neglected. Graham, Joel, and Jake Hansen have showed up to work hungover or still drunk numerous times. Jake Hansen and Sarah Mark.
I have counsel that will comment about personnel issues,
Not only I'm just asking
I understand,
what
but
workplace allows this to happen.
We are not going to allow defamatory or disparaging remarks. So I would suggest that you.
Well, I will say that Graham Jewel has also made racist comments.
Please move on.
Mayor, you are head of the city, and I ask, why would this be allowed? Why? Why? I just want it to be known that I have made these remarks in the past. You guys all know about this. You have known about this, and nothing has been done about it. Nothing. It's really not a shocker considering what happened when you were superintendent.
okay, that's enough.
Bye, have a great night.
And I will follow that up with the fact that these particular commenters have been told that there is a process regarding all personnel issues. That process is in place. Okay. So now we can move to miscellaneous business. I don't have, oh, I do have this. This is in front of you. It's from materials from my, what's it called? Recent conference to Knoxville, Tennessee. The Trust for Public Land, you see their little logo at the bottom right. They are, they're very heavily involved with the Dance Innovation Project. And I just thought you might want to see their research. And I realize these are bigger cities, but you know, we always try to scale to Moline if there's something positive about research out there. And this happens to be the hidden economic engine of cities, parks. And I believe this council has been quite supportive of our park system. And I'd love to see that continue, but this is just more evidence for us since we are talking about economic development and growth. There's always a lot going on in the city, so I'm continuing to try to send you one-off information as necessary, so they don't forget things. I'm trying to upgrade that practice of mine. This week there is a celebration of 50 years of HUD, Urban Development, right? And it turns out that I cannot be at that, and neither can Mayor Pro Tem for August. So if you would like to say yes or no, we can just move right around the table, but it's Thursday. It's Thursday at 1:15 at Mercado on 5th. So if you don't want to tell me now, can you please tell me overnight? Just send me a text or an email. And Stephanie needs to know, and Bob needs to know, and Katie needs to know, because there's a proclamation related to it that needs to be read. So it'd be really nice if a member of council could be there. It's
What time?
1:15 to 2:15 at Mercado on 5th.
It's
It's the HUD 50-year celebration. Or is it HUD or CDBG or both?
Just to give you a little backstory, yesterday HUD Region 5 out of Chicago contacted me about 2:00. Said, hey, we want to come to Moline and celebrate CDBG's anniversary this one Thursday. And celebrate that. So of course I called our partners in Rock Island and Davenport, said that wants to come to town and present us, but they call us certificate. We're one of the original entitlements that started in 1974 when CDBG was passed. So yes, I will be here, probably 2 to 3 representatives. We're gonna have it at Mercado, which we've helped them with CDBG funding in their commercial kitchen equipment for the incubator program. So Francis is gonna host it over there. The event starts at 1:15. Remarks from Moline, remarks from Rock Island, and remarks from Davenport. and then a presentation of the certificate to Moline and Mount Allen, because we're in Region 5, where Davenport across the river has a different HUD agency that they're gonna come over and show support. So we would like to get the word out, have neighborhoods come, have council there, have staff there to support us. You know, there's about 1,300 CDBG entitled. And for HUD to give us a call and said, hey, we want to come to your town, I hope our council as well as our staff and our citizens will show up.
Thank you.
This wasn't the president, this wasn't, I said this is that, 74.
74,
Till now, about $41 million.
$41 million in Moline.
That we have received from how we are developed. CDBG funds.
As the Quad Cities, we received about 175 million in these 3 cities, so which is a great contribution to our economic development, to our housing, and to our infrastructure. And I don't imagine the event's gonna take more than a half an hour. So if you could just give us a little bit of your time, I certainly would appreciate it. I'll do it as soon as it happens.
That's what I'm saying.
There you go. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was gonna
So,
ask you, did I
just
email it?
coordinate with Stephanie for reading the proclamation, and I'll get it signed before. Thank you so much. I don't have anything else at this time. So we'll go right around. Mr. Murphy, you have anything for this lady?
No, I don't.
See us?
Nothing around there.
So many things. Where do I start? Thank you, Bob. Want to thank the Public Works Department. I had a few residents reach out about a deteriorating road, and they were out and they fixed it in record time. I have explicitly said, not a high priority, and made it a high priority. So I want to thank them for that. Residents were mostly happy with the conclusion of that. Obviously today we had the ribbon cutting with the McDonald's. And so I appreciate the Plan Commission and CED department and everything that they did to facilitate that. Got to meet the owners, which was interesting. All the McDonald's in Moline are owned by the same family. Did not know that. That was kind of interesting to meet them. And it's a big family business, and they've been here it was actually the owner, his father owned the one originally down by on 16th Street, up by the old Venture. Yeah. Yeah, so it's been an interesting thing. I also this week went down to the recently reopened VIP theaters, and I am a very regular movie goer. I go 2 or 3 times a month, and so I am now dedicating publicly that I will be just going to the Moline Theater, because I'm so happy that we have one again, that they deserve my money more than our neighbors to the north. So I would encourage you all to visit it as well, and to and also thank you to CED for all the work you did to get them in there. That was desperately needed. And so I want to thank all the city staff for the work they're doing. Oh, and engineering, 16th Street, 23rd Avenue. Yep. Incredible, yeah.
All right, it's this. Nothing, Your Honor. Staff. Yeah, it's
Good
invisible
old
mic.
naked with iron.
I just want to let everybody know the past 2 days, we've had the Department of Justice here conducting a detective function assessment in partnership with the Bureau of Justice Assistance and Project Safe Neighborhoods. I voluntarily enrolled us in this evaluation with DOJ. So we had 2 individuals here the past 2 days interviewing our staff and our criminal investigation division. For those of you that don't really know how we're structured, we have 1 lieutenant that oversees several different subunits, including our juvenile division, our adult division, our special investigative group that includes our gun unit, our recovery unit, and our crime prevention unit. And so they spent the past 2 days interviewing staff members, going through our cases, reviewing our processes, our policies. Met with them this afternoon. They were very impressed with our department. They thought, one, that we had a school resource officer program that's very unique. They don't see a lot around the country, and how we run that and our philosophy
of how we interact with the school district, and we're partnering a liaisonship rather than security bouncer version of school resource officers. And so a lot of great things. They had a few suggestions. I'll eventually get a report, and I'll be interested to see some ideas how we could maybe structure a potential future expansion, or how we would structure that as we grow. As we talked about urban sprawl and different things that we would need to add, or how we could reallocate resources. But appreciate the opportunity to have Doug here today and have another outside set of eyes review. Just want to let you know that we're
Thank you. Any other staff updates?
So it's me again. Just want to give you guys a follow-up on the healthy needs assessment and the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. As you know, the consultant was in town last week for about 7 events. Great turnout at all. They were down at Mercado on Wednesday, back there on Friday for the events. They were over at Martin Luther King Center on Saturday, then a couple events over in Davenport, and then they had a couple focus group meetings. They have reached out to a number of people where they're going to have a one-on-one or a group setting with them from Zoom and get some input from them as well. We're hoping to wrap all this up and have them return that middle week in November. But when we were talking about it today, we might need to push to that first week in December. At first and second week in December. So I'm hoping that we're still going to have our council meeting, because all the cities are going to plan, because they're coming in from Atlanta. So we're going to try to hit every council meeting. So, and give you a summary of the report. But everything looks good. We got 2 surveys out there. We have over 300 people who are participated over the weekend. So we're seeing good numbers of participation out there when it comes to housing. So.
Thank you so much. Oh, very good.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. MetroNet. Since MetroNet broke ground, David Dreyer and his team have held monthly meetings with them this entire time. And so when you receive a complaint, pass it along to Bob, and you pass it along to me, I pass it on to David Dreyer. He's been tasked with taking the MetroNet group. So we had a meeting today. They said by the end of October they will be out of town. Essentially done next month, but they wanted to add in the full cushion of October just to make sure. And I said, "Are you sure?" I said yes. I said, "You're 100% sure?" I said yes. I said, I'm going to mention it tonight at a public meeting. So I want to make sure you're 100% sure. And they said yes. So they will be done by the end of October. And I think probably worthwhile with David, and especially Daryl Preston, especially to chase him down out the field this whole time.
Thank you so much. All right. I don't have the wording in front of me, but we do need to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters. I need a motion for that. Do you have the language, Andy? Or someone? Maybe Debbie can read it out.
There's me. Oh, you're good. Yes.
So for the purpose of that. I would say, I make a motion to say you.
The purpose of discussion of collective.
I make a motion.
Yeah, do the whole.
We like to do it by book. Right, Mr. Smith?
Yeah. You wouldn't let me do it otherwise.
I make a motion for executive session for the purpose of discussion of collective negotiation personnel matters. 5 ILCS 120/2C2. Appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees -5. That's it.
Second. All right. Motion by Murphy. No. Yeah. Murphy. Don't. Murphy, seconded by Castro. roll call please.
Alderperson Timian.
Aye.
Finch. McNeil.
Aye.
Castro. Schmidt.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Macias.
Aye.
Mazat.
Aye.